To say good morning to Bill Khan. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Tom. How are you? It's lovely to talk to you again. It's a bit of a damp morning, but I live in hope that it'll be dry for tomorrow. That's more importantly.
Fingers crossed. It's been quite a wet week all round, hasn't it, Bill?
It has, although, the cricket depends very much on the weather, but it's managed to survive. The Dougie Morris Cup matches first round this week, and there was only one game played up till last night. The others had all been called off because of the weather, but luckily the weather relented last night and they were all completed. So we got all the scores for that, as well as a few other things today.
Oh, fantastic. And so what has been your highlight of the week so far then, Bill?
I think watching some of the cricket, it's lovely to sit and relax with midweek cricket. And there were some pretty tense games, I can tell you that, Tom. And if you remember, last week you were talking on your show on a Monday, but the close games with Carew, they won and lost games by single scores in the last week, 5 runs and 7 runs. Well, they were at it again last night. They played against Whitland in the Dougie Morris Cup, and they won, would you believe, by 2 runs. So
2 runs.
Yeah, and the old cliche, Whitland managed to grab from the jaws of victory a defeat. They were 121 for 6, needing 124, and finished up at 121 for 9. So Carew, they got through. Rhys Davis had a nice 54 there. Do you want the other scores quickly for them?
Yeah, go on. Let's go quickly. Let's get through the scores.
Okay, well, Tish beat Kilgetty. That was, one played on Wednesday. Poor Kilgetty were 0 for 3 after Brennan Devnall's first over, but we covered 104. He's a growing figure in local cricket. Tish got 105 for 3 with runs from Carl Reid, Phil Coburn, and Mr. Devnall. So well done. We've mentioned Whitland. Hook lost by 43 runs at home to Narberth. 90 for 9, 138 for 7. Matthew Johns had 4 for 13. Veteran slow bowler for Narberth. Well done, Johnsy. Top game of the night, that's what you have to say, was Cresselly against Neyland. That's 2 teams that would normally get close to the final. The draw brought them together. Cresselly 155 for 6. That's a huge score, really. Neyland 159 for 2. Neyland back to something like their best performances. Pembroke Dock beat Lamphy. High scores there, 165 for 2. David Blackwell scored 92 for Lamphy, and he still lost.
Wow.
John Rogers had 70 as Pembroke got it for 6 wickets. And the last game, the biggest margin for a while, about 150 runs, 149 runs. Loreni lost at home. One away to Pembroke Dock were 85 all out. Harry Thomas has scored 102 for Loreni in there, 2, 3, 4 for 2. That's massive.
That is massive. And so for those who might not know, Bill, that 0 for 3 that you mentioned, if there's people listening that aren't familiar with cricket, what does 0 for 3 actually mean?
He took 3 wickets without giving away 1 run in the whole of the first over, 6 balls. It's called a maiden over then, and of course, maiden overs in limited overs cricket don't happen very often. Brown Down has become a very good cricketing all-rounder, and he really sort of was firing on all cylinders there.
He was well up for it, as they say. And you're talking about it's a nice, relaxing watch. But with these single digit finishes, it must be quite stress-inducing for those on the oval there.
Yeah, do you know, get very stressed with that. The scorers, they do a wonderful job. And, Wendy Bradshaw is for example, the scorer in Tish. She lives the game. You imagine what it must have been like with that by 2 runs. You imagine how nerve-wracking that must be. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not one to risk getting that incorrect and being it so close and fine to the line.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think. So cricket is the dominant sport being played at the moment, and I think that's where most of the emphasis is. So just, what other things are happening at the moment around Pembrokeshire?
Well, rugby's just about finished now. Thank goodness, I say, because it's been on for a long time. But Pembrokeshire Vikings finished off in style. If you remember when we spoke last week, they'd gone up the line and played in the Liberty Stadium. Well, I can tell you now that 3 of their players went one better, and they played for the Maoris. It's a new mixed ability representative internationals. They played at the Principality Stadium in a celebration game. And guess what? 3 Pembrokeshire players, Kieran Owens, Daniel Shaw, and Paul Clayton, all from the Vikings. They were selected for that game with Simon Gardner getting rewarded for his work as the coach. They all played at the Principality Stadium, as I said, and they won. And there were tries as well for two of them, Kieran Owens and Daniel Shaw. What an opportunity! Played at the Liberty Stadium and the Principality within a week. Going back to that last game for the Vikings, they won at Milford Haven last week. They beat their old friends from Port Talbot Panthers. Great names, aren't they? And they won 2014. Their tries by Gethin Bateman, Simon Radford on his debut. Well done, Simon. Kieran Owens and Josh Price. The best result of the day for me. The touch rugby team also won well. And congratulations to Ben Cuchero, my old pal. He was picked as captain for the first time, Tom, and scored 2 blinking tries as well. Isn't that brilliant?
Oh, that is fantastic. And I think a big round of applause to Simon Gardner and all of the coaching team that have helped that come alive, and Daniel Morgan, the captain there as well. It's their maiden season, and I think they've gone undefeated, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
and they've done so much to highlight the good of it as well.
They lost once to the Panthers. On the subject of rugby as well, I know on Monday you'll be dealing with it in depth, but it would be very nice for us to just say to Rob Evans, well done on moving to the Dragons. I think he's a huge loss to the Scarlets. He's always been a larger-than-life character, one of my favourites, lovely boy. And I know we both wish him every success in the next stage of his career, because he's still got a long way to go. He's a lovely boy. Well done, Evs.
He's got a lot to offer, and of course the Scarlets back room, they've now lost, well, not the back room, but the changing room is now lost Rob Evans and Cubby Boy James Davis, so it's going to be a quieter place, let's put it that way.
2 of the nicest rugby players I've ever had the honour to meet and interview.
Oh, fantastic. And then looking forward to Monday evening, who have you been catching up with this week, Bill?
Well, we got some interesting guests. Fraser and I have been interviewing people. From my point of view, I'm delighted we got Craig Templeton on. Now, you were at the Bridgemeadow Stadium when you refereed the Senior Cup final with great aplomb. It was a good performance. And he's become the first Pembrokeshire referee ever, Tom, to referee the same season, not only the Senior Cup, but the West Wales Cup, which is the biggest honour, really, for any referee, because that takes in Swansea and East Carmarthenshire, as well as Pembrokeshire. So well done to Craig. We're talking to him on Monday. So I'm interviewing him this afternoon for Monday. Roger Pratt. Now, if I say to you the PFAC, you will know what I'm talking about.
The what now?
The PFAC. It's the
PFAC.
Yeah, it's the Pembrokeshire Federation of Angling Coaches. Now, we haven't talked about angling for a while, and I'm talking to Roger Pratt, who is the chairman of that august body. Do you know, they do 2 things. They go around with schools on the river. I know Portfield School are old friends of his, that's called Brogwine, and youngsters go along. They've got a lovely lodge in God's own country of Trefgarn. And they go there and they fish. They go to other, like Puddle Duck and places like that to fish. And they show the youngsters the joy of fishing, but also conservation of the riverbank and wildlife. And if you said to me pictures that I've missed that I regret, I was taking pictures once up in the lodge, at the lodge, and I just by 10 seconds failed to capture a little boy catching his first fish. And if ever I had a memory in my mind of joy personified, it was that. So we got Roger there as well. Talking to Chris O'Sullivan, White Collar Boxing is finished for this time, but it's going to be up and running again. So I've spoken to Chris about what he thought of the show. He's always looking to be honest about the good and the things that need polish. So talking to him. And then we've got on Phil Taffy Williams. Fraser's interviewed him. Known to all as Taffy. He plays cricket for Chris Ellie from Huntledon, lovely boy. He's the Greenhill School head of games, and their girls' football team has been doing well. So Fraser's talked to him. And staying with Greenhill School, Fraser's also talking to Elliot Scotcher, who you know is a key figure in the midfield or defence. He can play virtually anywhere with Haverfordwest County. So they're all on Monday on your show, alongside whichever guest you've got as a nice surprise for listeners.
There you go. So tune in on Monday evening. And talking of Elliot Scotcher and Haverfordwest County AFC, we need to bid farewell again to Lee Idsey. It was announced yesterday that the goalkeeper is moving on again. Yes,
yeah, he's been a good servant. He's had a good year overall. He's made mistakes like all blinking goalkeepers do, don't they? But, you know, he's been a good servant. He's a nice nice fella as well. Haverfordwest County, there are huge changes. I spoke to Nicky Hayne yesterday. Again, he was just going back, driving up over on the car thing, then on the train to France, and then driving across to Belgium. So I had a long chat with him yesterday. He's told me a couple of off the record people who are going, but he's a proper manager. I tell you, all the players will know long before it goes on any form of Twitter, or long before he tells me and tells me I can say who they are. They're looking for new players in. That's a sort of a busy process at the moment. And although he's back in Belgium, he'll be busy with that, with Gary Richards and Julie de Grice, the secretary, and Rob Edwards, the sort of the boss there, really, the chairman. So there's a lot going on. If you go down there at the moment, Tom, the pitch has been sliced, only in very thin slices, and spiked. There's seed dropped into that. There's sand dropped over the top. It's rolled carefully. It's really been given its makeover for the end of the season, and it looks a little bit like a beach at the moment. But I tell you what, by the start of the next season, there'll be that, and there's a few other changes as well. But Nicky would rather me keep quiet at the moment because he wants the players to see them first. But there's a few surprises in the makeup around the ground as well. All will be revealed in time.
Bill, you've got all the secrets in that head of yours. And then very quickly, what are you looking forward to this weekend? Very quickly.
Cricket, obviously. There's a full programme of First Division matches, the top one being Loreni against Neyland. They seem to meet all the time. That's fourth against top. The real surprise, of course, is Haverfordwest against Carew. Carew third. Haverfordwest always won the top sides over the last 20 years. They're now bottom of the table, so they've got a bit of work to do. Criselli play Saundersfoot, Langham are home to Narberth, and Tish entertain Pembroke Dock. So that's the games for there as well.
Fantastic. And Bill, you know the drill. It's Feel Good Friday, which means that we pick the playlist, or the listeners pick the playlist. What have you got for us this morning?
Well, one of the groups I watched at the Grand Theatre in Swansea once was Dr. Hook and his medicine show. Absolutely spellbinding. So I thought, why don't I have a bit of Feel Good Friday with a bit of Dr. Hook? That can't be bad, can it? When you're in love with a beautiful woman, you know all about that, mate.
Yes, I do. Bill, thank you so much as ever for your time here this morning. As do you, in fact, Bill. Let's not be coy about this. And I will. I got a bit anxious, and I thought, oh, I need to say something back. No, it's all truth. It's all fact. So we've got Dr. Hook on the way. Bill, thank you so much.
See you next week. Ta-bye, everybody.
If I'm going out on my new paddleboard,